I don't hear the interview. I don't hear I don't see the
Nah,
intro.
I just go straight into it. So no
Oh,
worries,
my
man.
bad. Oh, I was waiting for
Welcome
the
to
music.
the aftermath, ladies and gentlemen. I am back. I'm not dying anymore. And to my right, I have Mr. Buff Curry, AJ Turner, wearing that merch. Go check his shit out. It's always good, and it's about booking time. Because guess what? It's about booking time right now. How
Damn
you doing,
straight.
brother?
I'm hanging in there, my man. Just we are, last time, we spoke, Brady was still employed with the Bucs, but he's gone now. We thanked him for his services, and this is the most critical, crucial part of the season now. We move on, we move forward, and people are nervous. I'm actually excited because
I'm excited.
I'm excited because now we have a chance to go in the right direction and move forward with purpose. Now we have to really we for Bucks fans, we have to understand. If you're gonna get a quarterback, let's get one where we can build in the future. I think and Rick Hughes said this last time. You know what the biggest fear is for Bucks fans, Slick?
Shoot.
Two straight quarterbacks we tried to develop had off the field issues that they had promising talent, but too much outside influences ruined everything, and
Mm-hmm.
we never fully got the full investment. That's Josh Freeman and Jameis Winston. Remember, Winston, the 10-6 season, we thought we had promise, and then his off the
Oh,
field
sure.
antics, and then Jameis Winston had the tangibles, but we failed. And I think people are scared that we're gonna miss the mark. But this is where, if I'm light, this is why you have to evaluate character better. And the first thing should be, is this player for the team or for himself? No matter what the talent is. So if that person's will isn't matched with his skill, go somewhere else. That's just my opinion on it. How about you, sir?
I think you've got to look at it from that perspective. This is the interesting thing: if the Buccaneers do whatever quarterback system they go down, a lot of people turn around and said, "Why don't we just have a year where we just see what we got with Trask, and if he sucks, then we end up with a high draft pick and we can go draft a quarterback." I just want to reiterate to fans that this is what I don't think that will ever happen. Is just remember how he may have only been on the hot seat a little bit. He'll definitely be on the hot seat if he just decides to can a season with Kyle Trask. There's no way Coach Bowles gets away with having a shitty season with Kyle Trask. No one's going to forgive him for it. So he'll. It's a bit like what they did with was it Hugh Jackson? Yeah,
Yeah.
they said you got to suck, you got to suck, you got to suck, and he went fine, I'll fucking suck. And they got the quarterback and everything, and they're like, yeah, well, we're done with you now.
It's a shitty business. It's one of those damn if you do, damn if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Now, either way, though, in my personal opinion for Bowles, it's a damn if you do and damn if you don't if that defense is in top 10. If that defense doesn't perform the way it did this past season, because as much as I complain about Bowles, I still give credit due when there is credit
He's
due.
still considered one of the best defensive minds in football right now.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
still in.
And you said it best. That secondary was on another level. From what, even with under Arians, our secondary was always, the weak spot and the
Yeah,
suspect.
I wouldn't say it was the weak spot this year. I'd say it's probably the biggest strength.
It was the big, yes, you are absolutely right. And it was the biggest strength, and it covered actually to get the pass rush to be as effective as they were. As you said, we didn't have a legit pass rusher. We had guys that came in and played their role. And you were right,
Yeah,
and you were spot on. Now, with that being said, this is where the draft will get interesting. I'm telling you, I already told you my first round is a left tackle, but the second round, interior tackle to help Vita, and then a pass rusher to help, because we've already talked about JTS still has to prove himself, but get someone to put a fire under him. And
absolutely.
we don't know if Levante wants to come back, but here's the question: is he willing to take a cut? Because money's going to be thrown at him this offseason.
Sure.
Like, who would be a good fit for him, and they would probably be willing to give up a good pick. I mean, like, not a good pick, but that would fit well and give him some money. The Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I think they would. I think the only thing is you're not going to get much. No one can offer anything for him because he's a free agent. So
Mm-hmm.
not really going to get much. It kind of the return investment. There's nothing there,
Mm-hmm.
Um, Bear me a second moment. I'm just uploading my draft that I recently did. My little mock draft. I'm just trying to remember where the hell I put it because browsing on this thing is a lot harder than normal.
No, I agree. And the link that you guys sent me, I don't know what the hell was going on, but it was not allowing me to do the entire Bucs draft. They just act like the Bucs only had two rounds. I'm like,
you have to select how many picks you want to do. At the bottom, there's a little thing that you press, and then
see, I was being slow. AJ was being slow.
It's all good though. It's all good, bro. There we go. Is that right? There we go.
Let me see, because I went to a beautiful mind when it came to my draft. I did that shit like, yeah. Oh,
so we got that looks like the tackle that is going to be most likely available. Now I've done this draft a few times. I do this draft a couple of times, and this is probably the best shakeup I got because this Florida State Jamie Robinson was not available for every single other time I did. I went, oh, he's there. I'll take that. So that's your safety covered. So you don't have to worry about safety. You got an edge rusher. Yeah, it's a little bit later than expected, but there wasn't any. I don't want to reach for somebody when I've got a good safety ready to rock and roll. Got a guard, another edge, two corners. Probably would have liked some interior D line, but I reckon you can re-sign the two that we've currently got. I reckon they can be re-signed. And they're not going to cost those type of. They're not flashy defensive linemen, so they're not going to cost you the earth. Whereas a flashy safety probably, which is what you need, a flashy safety is going to cost you some money. That's going to be some cheddar. My favorite pick of this is probably the last one. For some reason, they graded him as C. He's one of the best kickers in college football in Jake Moody. Some people have him going in the 4th round, so for me to get him in the 7th, I was more than happy. And for some reason, this fullback kept winking at me, and I'm wondering if he can be developed into a fullback / tight end, because then you can do so much more with him. Yeah, that was kind of like where I was going on it. Obviously, there's no right way to draft, and I'm sure there's always going to be one person going, that person won't be available.
No, bring that back up. I like it. I want to give you my analysis because I like it. If I would say this, because we all have to think about this as well. In this year's draft, there's going to be a lot of linemen that are going to be gone because there are going to be a lot of teams before us that need one. If we can get Anton Harrison, that would be great.
Never forget that teams get a bit too trigger happy when it comes to skill positions such as the wide receiver.
You're right.
If you're needy for both a wide receiver and a left or a tackle, you may go down the wide receiver route. Look at Cincinnati. People were the entire fan base was begging them not to take Jamar Chase and go for an offensive lineman because it was sorely needed, and they went and did it, and it still worked.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes people and sometimes there are just players that you can't pass up. Like when Detroit drafted Calvin Johnson, they didn't need him because they had Roy Williams and other guys there before, but that's a once in a generation person you go for. If we had a once in a generation linebacker that was in this draft, I'd be like, Bucs, go get him. Because imagine him, Devin White, and Levante together. Yeah, the defense would be solid. But I do like Anton Harrison at first, but these guys, I don't think we'll be able to get him. I like Peter Skoronski from Northwestern. I would love.
That's what most people have as the first tackle off the board.
Yeah, and of course, I liked Broderick Jones. He's gone too, just because I think Broderick will be picked high just because of the publicity in Georgia. So he's going to be picked. But I do like Anton Harrison, though. That was my third guy. Just in case, like you said, he might get lost within the shuffle. And if Light got to pull the trigger and get him, that would be good. But I think this Jamin Robinson thing is really.
Yeah, like I said, I did this draft at least 4 or 5 times because not everything's available. So you do it a couple of times. I would imagine a lot of people, when they look at this, would probably say that Jamie Robinson's not going to be available at that time. But hey, he was there when I picked him. I used the system. It's not like I picked whoever I wanted.
Yeah,
this was what was available, so I picked him. So yeah, if we would got that, I think that's a slam dunk.
Yeah, you get him, then you don't have to worry about, as you said, signing. Edwards. We would love to have him back, or Logan.
Logan Ryan played pretty well. I didn't think much of Keanu Neal. I thought he was okay.
Yeah, I
But the other
agree.
two, they filled in that spot quite nicely. But I think the biggest thing on the safety position, it was banged up for most of the season.
Yeah, I'm feeling. You know who I'm feeling though? I'm feeling the Yasir Abdullah guy from Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
I like that because he does have a bit of a better pass rush and he's a solid run blocker. We actually need someone who can do both. But I'd rather him be a pass rusher. But the reason why I say that because we love JTS, but we know his ability to stop the run is very suspect. He's not built to stop the run. He's more of that is your
He's a finesse,
yes.
pure pass rusher.
Yes, when he's on the field, offenses are going to go, okay, he's rushing the passer. He's not stopping the run to his side. With Yasir, you could do that with. He can give you a little bit. And then also, you don't have to immediately start him. He could be a rotation guy and give JTS some rest. So
Exactly, that's what I mean. That one side, or I would say,
mhm.
yeah, that one side of the linebacking crew is very much a rotational piece. So if you've got two edge rushers, I think I've got two edge rushers in here. You
Yeah.
got those two guys. They don't need to start. They can just They can just be in the rotation. You have
Mhm.
JTS with a 40% rotation, and the other two guys with maybe 30-30 or 20-20, and another guy with a little bit too. So it's
Yeah. At this point, the Bucks, you could actually you want to have depth anyway. We had a decent depth this past season, but we want more. And these guys could be future keys that can help us. And that's what I'm hoping that Logan Hall will be for us because as
he
we
needs to take a
see,
big step.
he had sort of a May season, but maybe he just needed to get another season under him, and with further progression, he'll be better. And that's why I do like with Yasir Abdullah because that's a guy that can I think a lot of rookies, if you allow them to be rotational players first, especially later on this round, you build the confidence because you don't put unrealistic
Too much pressure.
expectations on them.
Yeah.
Right. So
And then when you I think also when you are on when you're on a heavy a rotation where you don't get a heck of a lot, when you go out there you want to make your snap count. You know what I
mhm,
mean? So you because you've only got so let's say they play 50 snaps. You're only going to have 10 snaps that game. You want to make sure you're every single one is a highlight reel
exactly.
or as close to. Yeah, you don't want to as I always say to my guys, don't end up on anyone else's highlight reel.
Right, right. Do not be that person. Now that is good. Now you know who. If this guy is available in the second round as a tackle, that can help Vita, it would be Corey Foreman from USC. The guy is 6'5", 245, and runs a 4.75.
Mm.
That would be a hell of a pick to help Vita Vea. Can you imagine those two guys? Vita will be the guy who, of course, is going to get doubled, and with a guy of Foreman's speed and finesse, he can get there, and he's better at stopping the run. If I couldn't get him, give me Tyler Davis from Clemson, 6'2", 300, runs a 4.99. Can't go wrong with that. So those are my two guys interior that I'm really hoping for. I don't see that many people talking about Tyler Davis as much as Foreman. So I hope we can get him, but that would be a solid guy. Pass rushers, you think Derek Hall will be off the board from Auburn?
Yeah.
Okay. What about damn, yeah. See, Nolan Smith, I wanted him to, but another guy, realistically, I think that we could get would be Mike Morris from Michigan.
Yes, he came up on a fair few of mine.
Yeah, I like him too. And then if I get a corner, Noah Daniels from TCU. I don't think he's gonna be looked at like that. No, he's 6'2", 210. He runs a 4.42. So I would put him directly as a playing man because he's a guy that can recuperate. He has decent enough speed because that's like Carlton Davis speed. Like it's fast enough to recuperate. And he's a solid 6 foot, so you don't really have to worry about too much tall receivers getting over him. So
Here's a guy. I'm not sure that we're talking about DNs, and this is a second round guy.
mhm.
Tulupi. I can't do my best. It's a South Sea Island name, so I'm usually really good with them because a lot of rugby players have it.
Yeah.
Like even I support Wales, and one of their players has almost most of the same names as Vita Vea.
Mm-hmm.
They're both from Tonga, so it's like because Vita Vea's first name isn't actually Vita, it's Tavita.
Tavita. Tavita.
It's Tavita, which is what this other guy's called. He's Tavita Falitau.
Okay. Shout
And,
out
and
to
the Welsh got so struggling to pronounce his name, they just called him Toby.
Damn. Well, shout out to
Yeah.
these
And he
Polynesian
just said once he made it big, he just turned around and went, "That's it. It's fucking Talupe or it's fucking Talupe." That's the end of the discussion. Like, okay, it's Talupe now.
to Lupe. Nothing wrong with that. And that'll be something good. I really do want this. But I do want the secondary. I hope Bowles learns from his errors and understand, get guys that are physical, because that's what we are built on. We're not a finesse secondary. We are physical, in your face, smash mouth, and so is our front four. Our front interior. You want that. You want that to be tough, and you got Vita. So Vita he's not necessarily going to be the premier pass rushing type of tackle, but
No,
does just enough to where his job is just to make sure nobody can run, and he gets doubled all the time. And the linebacking core is duty is to get to that quarterback or the DN. But we do
I mean,
need we
yeah,
need an enforcer, because the absence of Sue, we need someone with a Sue mindset that can be nitty and gritty.
I agree. I think for too long we just haven't really achieved what we wanted to with these, especially with quarterbacks that can bounce out as well. I've seen that quite often. We tend to struggle with an elusive quarterback, but I think all teams do to a degree. I'm just not. We just don't watch a lot of the tape from
Mm-hmm.
other teams. It's really easy to sit there in the pocket and see a guy being slowly moved. You see, like a great example would be as if you're a quarterback and you have JTS, you're going up, and he's putting his speed on, and the guy just keeps pushing him out, pushing him out, pushing him out, and it's not nothing's open. You're just going to run through that sort of thing and just get as much as you can out of it. That it's just obvious because all that tackle is doing is washing him out of the play.
I agree, and they tend to do that because, yeah, you're right. Especially on his side, it's always where he can lift the quarterback can just take off. You typically don't see that on Shaq's side. That guy,
No,
they usually just throw it away, or they get a screen to pick it up. So just in case, if he does
no.
rush.
Now, one thing I wanted to say about JTS, and a lot of people don't know, is a lot of people think he's a bust or what have you. And I had a little snoop at it because I wanted to see where he stacked in his draft class.
Yes.
He was the seventh edge rusher taken, and he plays like the fifth best from his class. So, from a value point of view, there are guys taken in the first round that are worse than him.
Yes.
So, from a value of production, yes, it's not great because we are expecting great things,
Yes.
but he's not bad on return of investment. They spent it, well, return on investment is probably not the best, but for his class, he ain't half bad.
No, not at all. And he shows more promise at this point than
I
Logan.
saw a lot out of him in the second part of the season. I saw him chasing down a lot of stuff. I used to see him get washed out of the play, and it always felt like he was just kind of washed out, and that was it. He was gone. Now I see him. If he does get washed out, he's working back.
I
Because I
agree.
think he's one of those guys who trusts his speed. And I assume coaching has told him, trust your speed. You just need to learn when to stick that foot in the ground and break back inside. That's something he's working on. And that's how he's starting to get some of these pursuits on. Because when I saw some of these mobile quarterbacks or guys who can run, it was always JTS chasing them down. I always saw him chasing them down. Never got a piece of them or anything, but he
Mm-hmm.
was always him chasing them down. I always remember seeing him either trailing after them or getting that little ankle tap in or something like that. So I think there's more to see. There's going to be more to see from him. Some players don't develop until the next season. Like that. This is why you can't just call someone a bust because you've got those 4 years to
Mm-hmm.
and find out what they can do. And if they're not good enough, then the amount of money that you're paying them in the first for being even a first round pick is, we say, tuppence in the England. It means absolutely fuck all, basically. Very little money. You're paying pennies for a premier player. You'd have to be really, really poor to be a player from the first round for your money not to be worth what you're doing. I mean, you have to be really freaking bad because they're paid cheap to begin with.
Yeah, I agree. And JTS again, He showed more than Logan Hall this year. He basically he just needs to know when to use his abilities. Once he does that, and sometimes if he's facing a weaker tackle, don't even necessarily run around him, run through him. Because Shaq will do that. That's what makes Shaq so good. He's the fundamental specialist where he doesn't always have the biggest strength, but he knows when to use it. He knows, oh, if this lineman is smaller, then I can sometimes bull rush. If he's fatter but slower, I can maneuver. That's one thing that I hope JTS will learn eventually because he has the athleticism. You're right. He makes quarterbacks nervous sometimes when they do escape because if he's chasing them, now they have to get rid of it quicker. I do. That's why I want another person in there. Like we said, if we draft someone else.
Yeah, because we're going to lose a few guys. That's what people don't realize. We're
Yes.
losing Nelson. He's gone. Well, he's not gone, but right now he's gone. Right, he's question mark.
Yes.
And it's the same with the other guy. I'm trying to remember his freaking name. Carl Nassib. Yeah. So that's two guys off at the bare minimum. I mean, I do have the free agent tracker up at
Yeah,
somewhere.
Golston. I hope we re-sign Golston, but what if someone else recognizes his talent against the run and they just say, "Hey, we'll give you a couple extra million more than what Tampa would pay you"?
This is the thing that people don't realize about a free fall, right? There's a reason Ndamukong Suh didn't get a lot of sacks. It's because you're a run first defender.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Vita Vea. Same with William Golston. They are run first defenders, and then it's your two outside guys that are your main pass rush. I'm not saying that they won't get sacks. That's why Warren Sapp was elite because he was in a free fall. That the nose tackle eats while he beats the clubs off the double team and wins. Then they have to go double team him. When you're an exceptional free tech, you can do more, and that's one of the things that made Warren Sapp great. Is he was able to change his techniques as well.
Yeah.
Whereas Gerald McCoy, which the reason he wasn't re-signed was he can't play. He either plays nose, he can only play free tech. Yeah, and he was a great free tech. He was a very, very good free tech. He can't play end.
No.
He can't play a five technique. It just can't happen like a Logan Hall. So that's why when people look on, and I just want to reiterate to all the people who do their drafts and what have you, when you're looking at linemen, don't look at defensive ends. You're looking at light tackles, the defensive tackles for your 3-4 defensive ends. Your 3-4 defensive ends are basically light, heavy set, light to heavy set defensive tackle, free techs. They've got and they're speed guys because they wouldn't be able to play. And that's why you find on a 4-3, the DNs are thicker and bigger than your outside linebackers. And that's the difference. You can't guarantee that someone's going to have success. That's why Carl Nassib he was with us for a couple of years beforehand. The year before, he was at the end. And then in the second year, he became a linebacker.
Yep. And that actually has benefited him because he can take advantage of, getting around. Sometimes he can take advantage of knocking over the running backs, and he has enough speed to get behind linemen, but also big enough to stop a run. I agree, and sometimes when you draft, you have to know, is this guy going to be the run stopper and someone else, or is he the pass rusher? But as you said, when May is exceptional to the rule, he could play anything. That's what made him so elite. He could stop the run or get to the quarterback. But as you said, every player is not meant to be a Warren Sapp. That's a generational type of talent. And that's why I want depth, because if we get depth, that's a lot of people don't realize sometimes when you think that your player is doing awful, no, your defense is getting tired and they're going to underperform because they're exhausted. But if you have rotation, even if the other opposing team knows what they're going to do next, they still have the energy. That's what I think JTS, I think he would run out of steam by the mid third quarter because he's so tired of running and nobody comes in to assist him. He's burnt out. We get a guy like you said in the second or third round. Can you imagine? Let's say if that other guy is performing just as well, they both can split their snaps equal. That means you don't have to be on the field as much. You'll make it count more. You'll be more energetic. You'll have a lot more stamina. Man,
For sure. For
that's
sure.
so that's what this year's draft should be. If we're building for the future, build in the trenches, but also build for depth. And that's what I think. I had some who else did I have? I also had another guy, Darnell Wright from Texas. He's a defensive no, he's an all offensive line guy. Just
Okay.
in case. That's my reserves. I'm thinking of realistic
Yeah,
about.
of course. You've got it, because we're going to lose a lot. Like I said, this free agent thing. Let's review.
Yeah,
Me and
let's.
you review this free agent. So Tom Brady's off the cards. Never going to happen. That's as done as done can be, right?
Yep.
Levante David is the next person on the list. He has a 12.5 mil deal. Is his average salary? I think the Buccaneers would be happy to give that if they could give it to him, whether he signs a 1 year deal or whatever. Levante David said it in a podcast with Bussing with the Boys that he is pretty much exclusively from now on going to be 1 year contracts, because I think you just want to see which way the wind's blowing when you're in towards the end of your career. So if you I know he loves Coach Bowles. He's glowed about Coach Bowles and Coach Arians in
Yep.
that while being in that system. So I do think he is probably more than willing to give Coach Bowles another go. And he comes back for a 1 year deal. That would be great. Akeem Hicks is 33 years of age, and his contract was $8 million. So he's looking to either go $8 million or less. It's not unrealistic to re-sign him. William Golston, however, is only 5.4.
Oh,
4.5 million a year, and he is younger than Akeem Hicks. You don't get the pass rush explosion out of him, but he's a veteran. He knows the system, and that's what the Buccaneers are probably looking at. Don't be surprised if the Buccaneers go hunting for players that have played in the bowl system elsewhere and know that system.
I agree. I know. Isn't Fournette a free agent?
Mm-mm.
He's not.
No. They when they did the big re-signings, like the big names, they all re-signed for 3 years.
Oh, okay. So Fournette is good. Who else is
So let's go through this. You got William Golston, Raheem Nunez Roches. He's on a 2.5. Is his average? See Blaine Gabbert, Carl Rudolph. We'll never see him again.
Nope.
That's fine. We can move on. I was wrong. I was expecting a lot more out of him. I actually thought he was going to be a good signing, if I'm brutally honest. Hasn't amounted to shit. So, hey, you can be wrong. I'll eat it. Sean Murphy Bunting. Now, you can't put his salary on his average because he's on a rookie deal. So, you just don't know.
Dean.
They'll be looking at guys kind of where he's at. Aaron Stinney's a good choice, though, because Aaron Stinney only earns 1.4 million a year. That's his average salary. So he's more than easy to re-sign. So you don't have to worry about the interior guard positions as much. You re-sign Stinney, you still got You still got Geteke. You've still got some of the other guys. So the other guys, you've got
Hainsey. We have
Hainsey played center for us. You got that John Machon or Malchon or whatever his name. He'll probably be re-signed because they're cheap guys who are on basically camp deals to just be at camp and see if they can make a roster. And you chuck a couple of 100,000 at them, they're gonna stay because they usually put down roots. They might have family over here or what have you. But let's continue to go through. So then we got Aaron Stinney, Josh Wowles, again 1.2. There's no reason if the Buccaneers can figure out their cap number, re-signing people like Aaron Stinney, Josh Wowles. Keanu Neal's only here on a 1.2. That's an easy thing, especially if you're offering him a starting position. If they think Keanu Neal can start, and he has started in his career,
yes,
you offer him $2 million, he'll bite your hand off.
Yes,
because he hasn't shown, in my opinion, he hasn't shown enough for me. But I'm not at practice every day. I'm not the one grading his tape. I'm not the one looking at him. I mean, obviously he's not starting for a reason, right? So That kind of says a lot of things. Rashad Perriman, we won't see him. But again, his contract's only 1.2, but he's not playing with Brady, so he's probably gone.
Yeah, I would get rid
Patrick
of him.
O'Connor, defensive end, rookie deal, so it's hard to kind of base where his salary's at. But the next person down from him is Carl Nassib. He's 1.2. You can re-sign those kind of guys quite easily. And people like Patrick O'Connor, they'll probably be on a 700K, 800K to $1 million. They're not going to be commanding mega salary. A lot of these guys, yes, there's a lot of people to take care of. A lot of them are really small salaries. Jamal Dean is probably a bad person to look at because earning less than $1 million a year, he's going to be earning more than $1 million a year next year. Guaranteed. It's not even, and that's why you can't base off rookie deals. It's really difficult unless you have a veteran playing next to them that plays the same kind of way. So I'd say Anthony Nelson and Carl Nassib, they're kind of in the same ballpark of where they play. Just age is the only thing that separates them. So you're paying Carl Nassib's not even 30 yet. He's just under 29. He's just under 30. And then someone like Anthony Nelson's obviously 20, almost 26. So there's a few years separating them. It's realistic that you could re-sign Anthony Nelson to $2 million to $3 million a year.
Yes.
It's realistic to sign him to that. And then after that, you've got Mike Edwards, again, a rookie deal, so you can't really put a price on what he does. That's what makes it difficult to kind of work out the class.
Yes.
Scotty Miller, JJ Russell, Nick Leverett, he was a guard. I wouldn't be surprised the Buccaneers could be signed him. He's less than $1 million.
Yeah.
These are all guys.
He's productive. That's another thing. He's productive.
Nick Leverett's 26, so I don't think he's on I don't know if he came off a rookie deal or he's been one of those undrafted free agent hires that they kept on going, giving him a bit more money, give him a bit more money, give him a bit more money to keep him here because he knows the system. He knows. When it comes to offensive players, though, and here's the thing, knowing the system's not enough anymore. No. And that's why when I was talking with a few people online, not talking, but typing, obviously, because my voice was a bit hoarse. I didn't include Blaine Gabbert in my quarterback predictions because it doesn't matter what he did in the system last year, he knows the system because that system's gone.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter that he knows a person who's left the system. It's irrelevant now. So it's going to be more about who the person coming in likes. So if you end up signing a Minnesota coach, for the sake of argument, you might be looking at one of their backup quarterbacks as not the go-to guy, but as someone to bring in for depth.
Yes.
Because they trust that person, knows their scheme, therefore easier to get up to scratch. But you know who I don't see on here? Logan Ryan, there he is. Why they got him listed as a cornerback on this? Yeah, cornerback.
Yeah, he's a safety.
Yeah, he's a safety. Anyway, they got him down. He's down as 1.1 mil. You can re-sign those guys. You might not be able to re-sign Edwards, but how old is Logan Ryan? He's 30. Okay, Logan Ryan's pretty old. So you can get him for depth for sure. Draft a safety, which is probably what they're going to have to do, and then just see what shakes out after the draft. If you can't draft one, then maybe splash a little bit more cash on a guy that you were particularly wanting to spend a bit more money on.
Yes,
because you don't want to spend the money, right?
Right.
The Buccaneers have to be super mindful about what they're spending money on.
I agree, and that's why I think we built in the draft and not go for free agency at this point. The next few seasons, we can't afford to do it. So let's see what we can do with the draft. This is where Light has to put on his, his elite hat. And one thing I can give, and I tell fans, Light knows how to draft linemen. I tell people he has a good history of that. Ali Marpet, look at what he did. Trash. Just those two right there. He can make something happen. I tell people, well, what about
he did a decent job in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
No, he went to the Super Bowl.
Yes, he did.
He didn't miss shit.
Exactly. And I tell people with Hainsey and Gedeke, I know how we felt about him, but give him time and give him patience because they were thrust.
He came from the MAC, dude. He came from the MAC. Not
Yeah.
everyone's going to be. I've said, me and you've spoke about this a million times. Not everyone's going to be Ali Marpet. Yes, we know Ali Marpet came from Hobart College. They're a Division 3 college. He's a fucking freak of nature that goes against the rule, and that's
Yep.
why you can't include him in that. But let's
Yep.
include one of his buddies that went off, got paid the bag or whatever you want to call it these days. In the other guard, Alex Kappa, still not considered for very good right now. As for the Bengals, I think the Bengals feel like they probably overpaid for him.
Right. And he was off the Super Bowl winning team, like you said. I agree. Because when Stenny was in there, he outplayed Kappa, in my opinion.
Kappa's been serviceable, and I've been trying to say this to people. You look at our line. So we've got a top 10 right tackle, a top 5 right tackle, in my opinion. We have a top 10 center. Arguably, you could go to top 5 if you want to, but I'm going to go top 10 because I think that's kind of where he is, in my opinion. Left tackle, we got probably a
middle of the
from
road.
20 I'd say from 20 to 32. He's in that bracket somewhere. Where he fits, I don't know. You'd like him to be the 20 guy.
Probably 23, 24.
Yeah. I think that's a fair assessment. When our center came out and we put in Hainsey, he was ranked by Pro Football Focus the 15th to 16th best between 14 to 18th in center. It fluctuated from week to as a center, so we don't know what he brings as a guard. If you can turn around to me and say, okay, I'll give you a top 10 center, I'll give you another top 15, so above mediocre guards on each side, and then I give you a top 5 right tackle, and then maybe a top 15 mediocre. Let's be realistic. We can't afford to buy anyone who's above mediocre anyway.
Nope.
We're hoping that we can get a guy that can play mediocre to begin with. If we get that with a quarterback that can move in the pocket,
yes,
things will be all right.
Yes.
That's how I look at
it. I'm just at this point though, I really want the Bucs to just go balls to the wall and build strong in the draft and get another left tackle. I said before, if you can get a left tackle that can play at least 70% of Worth's rookie season, because I think he's going to be a once in a generational type of guy. But if he could play 70%, can you imagine what that can do for any quarterback?
We don't need a great tackle. We just need a good tackle. A tackle that doesn't make. I understand sometimes you give up the penalty. You give up the penalty because it stops your quarterback from getting smashed to pieces. I get that. I really do. I get that. Sometimes it's necessary. You hear it all the time that was a good penalty because that guy was going to lay the fucking wood on him. But when it's consistent and it's consistent penalties. His play, Donovan Smith's play, isn't the thing that worries me. It's his mistakes from a penalty point of view that mount up. The amount of drives that when you don't score very often and a score gets washed off, it hurts. When you score all the time and one gets washed off, it's not a big deal.
Yes.
When you only score 24 touchdowns passing the whole season and someone scrubs off 5 of them or 4 of them,
that's a big deal.
It hurts.
Yes.
It hurts a heck of a lot.
And I like where you're going. And speaking of this, let's talk, we're still on the coordinator. Let's go to that. Dan Pitcher was brought back again. I say this. I wouldn't mind having him because he's a quarterback's coach and he worked with Burrow. Maybe he could do something with Trask if they decide to go that route. If they do, that wouldn't be a bad idea. He has I think, again, I know people out there don't want Trask, but I just want to see. And for Bowles, I know that is a big, like you said, that might be a big risk for him. But if he brings in the right OC,
there's no slam dunk answer to this, because when you look at young guys, it's a little bit no risk it, but no biscuit. Because how many of us thought the coach going to Mike McDaniels went to the Dolphins? How many of us really thought he was going to light things the fuck up like he did? I
Uh,
didn't. I'm
yeah,
going to be honest, I didn't, because I didn't know who he was. And I'll be honest, the San Francisco 49ers defense, the Niners defense, offense, isn't known for being flashy and scoring a lot of scoring a heck of a lot of touchdowns. They're a grind you out type of offense, probably due to their personnel. This guy comes in, they bring him Tyreek Hill. Yeah, okay, it's Tyreek Hill. You got Tua Tagovailoa. Then they've got what the other weapons they got around them, and they're pretty dynamic as an offense.
yes,
You don't know what you're going to get until you get it.
yes,
Not everyone's going to be a slam dunk, but the trend in the NFL right now is go get yourself a young, innovative,
In- innovative.
innovative. There are certain words that I just can't get wrapped around my tongue.
No
Um,
problem.
with the innovation, I'll choose innovation. I say that. That's easy. It's the other word. Get someone with the innovation, young, youthful,
Yeah.
good ideas, big ideas, sexy ideas, and play some sexy football.
Yes. And that might be the best case. I'm not saying that he would throw it out the park, but if he worked with Burrow, and of course Burrow is a talent of his own, that's where I get what you're saying. That's the risk because it's like, is that you or is that just Burrow being who he is?
This is a
However,
little
he
bit why
was,
I quite like the Shea
yeah,
Tierney, the Giants quarterback coach,
yeah,
and what he was able to get. Now, I don't watch a lot of Giants football, so I don't know how many times, because Daniel Jones is one of those deceptively athletic quarterbacks that doesn't look athletic, but he can do stuff. I've seen him move. He's done it to us. I've seen him do
yeah,
it to us,
yeah,
especially when we were still in the Jameis years. Not so much these years, um, but I've seen him. He can escape the pocket pretty well, and he can burn some yards when he needs to. I don't know how much that is him improvising. You remember Russell Wilson would just fucking run for his life?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I watched a few of the Giants games. Don't get too distracted. Daniel did do a hell of a lot, but he also had a solid run game. Look at what Saquon Barkley was able to do. The Giants were able to bring balance, and that's why Daniel didn't have to always be the hero. When you make a quarterback that isn't meant, we have to be like this. You have three types of quarterbacks: quarterbacks that just don't have it, but they'll do the best they can. Then you have a quarterback that needs a surrounding of talent to help him. Then you have your Burrows, your Mahomes that can just do it regardless. Daniel Jones to me is that guy that if he has a solid team and you don't ask him for much, he can make things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that's what I honestly see in Trask. I know it's too soon, but I feel if the Bucs give him a solid line and they use Fournette the right way and don't ask too much of him, he can do something because one thing that he has some statue moments, but he still can run better than Brady. I know that's not a lot to say, but I think he can improvise a lot better because if he's not too stationary. That was we can admit that was one of Brady's biggest weaknesses. He was so stationary.
After this year.
After
This
this year,
year
I mean, this year.
he rarely ran for it. Remember the year before where he
Yeah.
was running and it's probably my favorite Tom Brady play to this day. And I know I can see your smile, so I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yes.
Where he runs, and I think it was like maybe 20 yards.
Against
He
the
gets up
Giants.
and just flicks the ball up into the air, and I was like, "That's my dude. That's my fucking
Yes, that
quarterback."
shit was funny because it was like watching a slow motion replay when he was doing it. He has no trot whatsoever. I was like, oh my God. I get scared when he's the run. I'm like, he is gonna break something. But yes,
Yeah,
but
but
also,
it was just the slide down and it kind of flicked the ball in the player's face. Oh, I loved it. I loved it.
but look at the line he had too. They were able to create that kind of lane for him. A lot of people don't realize when he took off like that. Look at the line and how they just blasted people and moved them out. He wasn't
Mhm.
getting that this season. So
No, not only that, and you also got to take into account he was being a lot more cautious this year,
yeah.
last year than he was. So he probably wasn't thinking about going for it because he could get licked a little bit harder. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there was a couple of games where we played last year. He got licked pretty hard, and he was like, "Fuck, this is a real bugger. This is a bit of a pain in the ass to rehab from." But it wasn't a big deal that it was needed to be put on injury reports or anything like that. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, you get if we can get Trask does show promise. The only thing I would like to have seen in that last game, if you want to give the Buccaneers fans hope on what the future looks like, why didn't they put Trask in with the ones?
I'm with you 100%. I think
Because we
that's
got Trask with trash, and I
right.
don't mean that in the nastiest way possible, but they are the bottom, and that's what it's really difficult to grade somebody because I'm looking at other quarterbacks who are either first years, second years, or whatever, or considered bottom of the pile quarterbacks. San Francisco is a perfect example, and there's a couple more around the league that had moments like Geno Smith or what have you,
Mm-hmm.
who did some things, and you look at them and you go, "Oh wow, they're able to get a lot out." Jacoby Brissett was able to get something out of Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to give him his respect. They weren't a great team with him, but he did something. You could tell he was committed. You could tell his heart was in it. And there were times where he played pretty well. Not great. When we saw Trask, he looked like trash. And
Yeah.
that's because you're putting him against a first string defense. Maybe one or two players are injured, but a first string defense with third to fourth string players, and he's gonna struggle because anyone like Tom Brady or whoever you give me anyone's name. Aaron Rodgers lost his star wide receiver last year, and he struggled. This is a guy who played at a MVP caliber, loses one or two players. His line was pretty set. His running backs were pretty much the same. He loses two guys from his to his wide receiver, no fault of his own. I'd like to point that out. He could backlogged his deal and made sure he got his guys with him, but that's his choice. And he struggled for most of the season. He looked a shell of himself, just like Tom Brady.
Yeah.
The only difference is one of them's not old.
Right. And
Really.
and and I want to throw this out here to fans too, because when they say, well, look at the talent, he didn't even start over Gabbard. I'd say this. You do realize Byron Leftwich was your offensive coordinator. This is the same guy who was asked when it came to helping the GOAT at quarterback. Uh, he might not have recognized talent. It's okay. We've seen this in other organizations where teams and coaches don't recognize the talent right there. For all you know, it takes somebody fresh and say, "Well, shit, this is what Trask is really good at." And then we like Bowles, but I feel like the Glazers or Light might say, you know what? You make sure the defense is fine and you pick the right OC to develop the quarterback, not you. You develop this defense, and
He ain't going to develop a no quarterback. I
and
think
I hope not. I hope not. I really don't want
I,
him
I think
involved.
from everything I've read or
Yeah,
watched with Coach Bowles is he wants to find. I think he's desperate to find an OC that he does not need to get involved in the offense. And I
I
think
agree.
that's what he did with Bowles, and it backfired on him. And then maybe he started being too cerebral about
Yeah,
it and thought too much about it, and then ended up screwing himself over,
I
and then
agree.
ended up playing like vanilla defense or what have you because he was worried about the offense. He wasn't able to be as lethal maybe because this year was his least the least amount he ever blitzed since he's been with the Bucs.
Yeah,
The
and
least amount he blitzed, and there's a reason for being conservative. That's playing a little bit scared. You can argue, yeah, you could say it's being smart, really, but he didn't stick to his mo, and there's a reason for that.
right, and this is why I think it's imperative that it was imperative to get rid of Leftwich, but you get the right guy, and we just need an inventive coach, OC that can just say, "Hey, damn it, we're gonna take this to the level where we're gonna just have again, we're gonna have fun, fellas. We're gonna add people in and do. Oh yeah, as long as we don't see Bowles with the red pen next season, new OC should be fine. Ben, you're on it. We're right. This is where me and Slick, as fans, we if we would talk to Bowles, we'd be like, hey, you worry about the defense, let the OC do his thing, and you'll be fine. Again, Bowles, the Glazers and Light are gonna say, don't worry about if you pick the right OC, that's fine. Your duty is this damn defense better not be less than top 10. if this defense, if they can't even go to me, they can't even get under 16, like ranking wise. Like when it comes, they can't be
No,
anything.
I think they got to be. I think they got to be top. They got to be within the. I'll be kind and say the top 12.
That's what I'm saying. They have to. They cannot be anything less than that. Otherwise, Bowles.
And then I want to see better game management in situational football.
Me too.
When to use these timeouts. When to and then I want to see a coach that owns his mistakes. If I was in my interview straight after a game where they said, Coach Slick, you're the head coach, and you're drawing level, and you've got a minute and a quarter left on the clock. 3 timeouts.
Amen.
Why didn't you try and score? And I say, we're playing for overtime. I'm calling bullshit, because why did your OC call plays?
Exactly. Why didn't you just down it and call it a day if you were playing for overtime?
Tom Brady's going to take 3 knees. Do you think the other team's going to? I can't remember if they had timeouts. Do you think they're going to call a fucking timeout if they see Tom Brady? Oh, we get to go to. No, they're not.
No,
it's that simple, and it's stupid shit like that. I would rather turn around going, you know what? I made a mistake, and I've learned a costly. And I would turn around. This is exactly how I play it. They go, Steve, you did this, this, and this. I wouldn't say I was playing for overtime, and I'd be like, I thought we could chase it and thought we could nab it, and then I had kind of overtime in my back pocket. I wasn't aggressive enough in regulation, which I should have been.
Yeah,
I was kind of like being a little bit playful with it and thinking, we'll see what we'll get out of regulation. But if it doesn't work out, I'm keeping overtime in my back pocket, and I haven't committed to either.
Yeah,
I really should have either committed to overtime or committed to going down the ball and using or being really smart, fucking using the fucking timeouts anyway, because if it doesn't work, you still got overtime anyway.
I agree. And when you're an honest coach, that can really also, the most important thing is you want to keep that locker room solid, because this is where, like you said, this can help or hurt. But if he continues to just talk bullshit, that can create turmoil in the locker room where it's like, dude, we know what you did. You were being scared. Now we're getting pissed. But
and that is exactly what it is.
Yeah,
they weren't being aggressive. They weren't being aggressive enough because they didn't want to use their time. That I can't remember what game it was. They didn't want to use that.
It was the Browns. I remember.
They didn't want to use that. They didn't want to use their timeouts. Okay, but you still call plays. What plays are you calling? Are you calling like super safe plays that put the ball at 0 risk? Then you are playing for overtime, but you can't half play for overtime. You can't kind of go, well, we're kind of going up the field to try and score and see what shakes out. You could, but you're still going to use your timeouts when you need to. Yes. Using your timeouts doesn't mean you're a stupid coach.
No, not at all. And also, if you're gonna, I would never play for the overtime, because I say take the risk. So,
dude, I'm one of those coaches that if I score and it is it's tied, if we kick, I'm probably going to go for 2 if I trust my 2-point package. My 2-point package is what I'm building. Like I believe in my 2-point package. I'm going to go for the jugular right there and then, and I'm going to call it quick. It's not going to be. It's going to be. They're going to be phased by my touchdown, and it's going to be straight away. I'm having it in my back pocket. That is, guys. As soon as we score, this is the fucking play. There are 3 plays, and they all look exactly the same. One's a run play, and one's exploiting one side of the field, and one's exploiting the other side of the field, depending on where you line up. That's what we're going to call. I'll call my timeout. These are the 3 plays. All you have to call out is a word, and the entire team should know what we're in. This is our 2-point, our quick 2-point package. This is we've just punched them in the gut while they're reeling from that. We're going to uppercut the cunt. That's what we're going to do. We're going to uppercut him.
Yep, and you're right, and that's where a lot of bad teams fail, because they don't set up, and then when they think about it, now you got the opposing team ready to operate. But like you said, you come out knowing that shit already. Now the defense has to go, damn it, what's going on? And then
The
You
2-point play that we fucked up when we played against Green Bay.
yes.
How was that not already iterated to the entire team, guys? This drive, you've got five options. You turn to Brady and go, you got X amount of options, right?
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you score, hit it. Don't fucking worry about the clock. Don't worry about shit. Just get it done. Get out there and execute it. If it doesn't work out for us, it doesn't work out for us. And if you're in that fucking meeting when they go, oh, what went wrong? And you're there talking about clocks and bullshit and whatever, just turn around. We wanted to catch them unaware. They outsmarted us. There's no shame in that. You tried something that wouldn't most of the time probably work. Teams are usually reeling. There's usually a corner that feels like shit. There's usually a safety that's fucked up somewhere. Somebody screwed up or somebody feels like they screwed up. And there's no time to console him because you're already set up for the next play.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like you
if
said.
you're smart and
Yep.
you are able to exploit, especially things with motion, this is why offense needs to be inventive. You can exploit things with motion. So you turn around and go, okay, we had 2 slots. Well, now I'm going to motion my slot guy to tight end because your slot was a tight end who can play. Look at, for the sake of argument, look at Kansas City. I barely see Travis Kelce line up with his hand in the dirt. So let's say your slot was Cade Otton. You motion him inside, real quick motion, boom, run play. That's going to knock them off their. That's going to knock them off their. Knock them off, especially if it's a counter.
Yep.
There's so much more you can do with your team if you just have a bit of finesse about it. You just that's why I didn't like what happened in Green Bay. I don't care about no clocks. That's just excuses. You have that play ready to go, and it's executed to perfect. It's executed straight away. Don't even give them a chance to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
No substitutions, no nothing. We scored. Let's go. Boom.
Facts. No, you're
That's why the hurry up offense works.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
works because it catches teams unaware before they know it. I've seen it. We were doing our scrimmage shit this week.
Yep.
With the Steelers. We made a fucking great play, and while my team was celebrating knocking a fucking ball loose because it was we've just got them to 4th down and they still hadn't scored, the offense was in turbo mode, already lined up, and I'm like, fucking guys, wake up, come on, let's go. SOS, let's go. And then fucking, oh shit, yeah. They got themselves just in the nick of fucking time. But they made a play off it because not everyone's feet are set. Not everyone's ready. That's the beauty of using that style of offense. You can't use it all the time, but guess when it's best to use it? On a 2-point conversion? For sure. Because all your players are dialed in because they know what's coming. The other team's too busy reeling what just happened. And 6 points is a gut punch.
And now you can't help. Oh, and I like that. Ben said something too. I know that Brady said he's retired for good, and I believe he truly is now. But is it me, or I get the feeling that seeing that this OC search item seems longer than normal? Light is possibly holding half. Hope out. No, I don't. I think what I see about this, I think they're trying to be careful, but also they're looking at who is going to be their quarterback. Are you gonna let it rock with Trask, or are you gonna get someone in free agency? If they rock with Trask, they're gonna have to get an OC that is good at developing quarterbacks and designing plays. If you get a veteran in there,
but Brian Johnson of the Philadelphia Eagles is the quarterback coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, was his offensive coordinator back in Florida. Guy who's not, I don't believe he's 35 years of age. I don't believe he's interviewed. It might be the fact he's in the Super Bowl and people showing him the respect. Because I don't think any coaching hire should happen for any playoff teams until they're eliminated. In my opinion, I think it's disgusting that.
No, I hear what you're saying.
We had it with Byron. Like, people wanted to speak to him. Like, we got a fucking game next week. What the fuck are these people talking to him for?
Exactly, I agree. That you want these guys focused, and you want to see how they perform. They can. What if they perform like shit on the big scale, on the big game? Now you can see.
Maybe look like they shit the bed, and they might not shit the bed because they're too prepping for a fucking interview with you.
Exactly. So that's where I'm at that point. If it were me, I would just see where we go. with Trask. If you bring a guy in like the way that you said it was pretty good. Bring someone in for cheap and give them bonuses so they can, if they don't play well, then you go, okay.
You got to go, guys. You got with that. I had a quite big discussion about it, and this is the Gardner Minshew. I believe Baker Mayfield was in the conversation. There was somebody else as well. You could put like Blaine Gabbert in there too. The only issue is with one of them is that they have started recently, whereas the other two are definite backups. So you could resign, not Kyle Trask, sorry, Blaine Gabbert, because Blaine Gabbert, I believe, if I just check his average salary, because he is up on this, Blaine Gabbert is 2.5 million. So you turn around two and a quarter mil. You turn around and say, we'll give you 2.25 mil. One mil's guaranteed and all the bonuses, then someone like him's going to sign that deal straight away because he's got what he got last year and he gets the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Someone like Gardner Minshew will also take that opportunity because they haven't started it for a while. They lost their starting job to somebody in the Jags, and then he goes to become in the backup role. He had a little taste of starting football, but he was not named a starter based on his skill set. He was named a starter because he was next man up. That's a big difference. Mm-hmm. And if you do an admirable job where you step up, then fair enough, there's an argument there. I think he did decently, but it was only like 2 games, maybe 3 games. It's not enough to sit there and go, this guy's legit the dude. So those 2 guys definitely you can get on the cheap. Baker Mayfield has started. Doesn't matter where he goes, he started pretty much straight away. He may got benched a little bit in Carolina. As soon as he got cut from there, he went straight and started for another team. So he's probably the more difficult one to nail down. But there are plenty of quarterbacks out there, like a Tyler Huntley, who's had a little bit of his Pro Bowl's basically ceremonious at this point. Yes. Yeah, let's be honest. That's a ceremonious Pro Bowl because so many people went, nah, it's okay. But there are plenty of guys out there that you can get to do that kind of role. Bring them in. There's the cheddar. Whoever wants it, and make those goals. One thing they've always done with these contracts when they put incentives is they kind of make them. And I heard Baker Mayfield had them in his contract when he went to Carolina, and they were ridiculous. Like he'd had to start 10 games without any. He'd have to start 10 games. He'd have to, and then a lot of people go, well, he might not be the starter because he's joined Carolina quite late. Mm-hmm. And it was like, you have to have this, and they were really they looked like really unachievable goals. So you make it, okay, we expect a franchise level quarterback to get 25 touchdowns. That's not asking the world. No. We're asking you to be under double. Give me the turnover interception ratio less than per a game. So you played 18 games and you got less. You played 17 games or 17 games and you have less than 17 touchdowns. I take that as a bit of a win because that means you only put the ball in harm's way. You could argue and go a different way and say turnovers rather than just interceptions. So you haven't had as many turnovers. So we're including fumbles in that. If someone turned around to me and said, I got you a quarterback that's going to turn over the ball less than 17 times in the entire season, and they're going to score more than 25 touchdowns, I'm not going to be upset with that. With a defense that we've got, exactly. I believe it's not going to be a problem because they're going to the defense are only going to be in one position per a game, providing other people don't fumble. But generally, the quarterback's only going to put the defense at harm. Yeah. When they're deep in a hat, when they're they're backed up, giving up a turnover. Because let's face it, you give up a turnover in the red zone, it doesn't matter because it's like you've just punted them. It's just you've wasted an offensive possession.
Exactly, I agree. I'm just gonna go with, hey, if you can bring in one QB that could, if you bring in a veteran, make him and Trask battle for it because with the new OC. That will determine who will be the starter.
Sure, but you want to see the best. You want to see the best of what the Buccaneers have got to offer at the quarterback position. You've got to have either at least a freeway fight.
Exactly. Agreed. I agree. You get if you get Baker and he lose to Trask, then there you go. You haven't lost anything. And if Trask lose to him, then you go, okay, we see he's not ready and see what Baker can do.
That's why the incentive deals works out, because and the way I described it to people was like, some people, one or two, most people liked it when I put this out there, and some people were like, well, why would if I was a quarterback like Baker Mayfield, why would I risk it? And it's a fair point, because he probably could get signed for $8 million. He probably could. The other two probably not so much. If you look at they're both one's on a rookie deal, and the other one's bounced around the league a fair bit. Their one's average contract doesn't reflect that, and no one's going to sign a backup for more than $2 million anyway. Exactly. So if you offer a guaranteed $1 million up front, and then you make the goal so realistic that they go 24 touchdowns, I can do that. Less than 18 17 turnovers, I could do that. More than 400 yards in this passing league, I can do that with those weapons. I could do that
with the line. If we get a good left tackle I can do that. As you said, this Bucs team.
You want them to sit there going, okay, their agent might be sat there going, it's not the best deal for you. It might not be the best because you might not hit those incentives. Like, dude, that incentive easy. That one's easy. That one's easy. I can get this. This is easy. That's what you want them to think. It's like, yeah, I may not have it up front. Someone like Baker's going to be tougher on that, because he probably could command at least a $5 million salary. But maybe that's the way you go with him. And you go, okay, we'll give you. Someone turned around to me and said our quarterback room was going to cost, and I'm not going to include. I'll disclude because I don't know how much Trask makes. I reckon it's probably about let's call it $1 million, $1.25 million. If someone turned around to me and said your quarterback room is going to cost less than $10 million,
you're with it. I'll be with it.
I'm happy with that.
I'm happy with it. And then you have people being competitive. So that's the beauty of it. Competition. Nobody is in there guaranteed shit. So they're going to have to really work for it. And that's what the Bucs want at quarterback. You want somebody to work for it. As you said, we got all these weapons. Let's put it to use. Baker might say this is the first time where I really can have a solid offense and I don't have to be the hero and I can just play my game and I can improvise with this line. And I have Evans and Godwin. Then I have a guy in K. Dotton. And again, can you imagine him improvising and keeping drives alive and making things up as he go and getting it to Evans? Because we know already Evans can be 1,000-yard receiver with any quarterback.
Yes, and we've seen that. As long as they trust. Like, let's face it, if you're having a bad day and you're like, fuck, I need to get some yards, I need to get a touchdown, you're just going to sling it to Mike Evans, because he is your perfect he's the desperation kind of like, fuck it, let's go for it.
Exactly.
and most guys, if they are like those Buccaneers quarterbacks have been in the past, if you know that guy's coming down with the ball like even 70% of the time, and then the other like 20% of the time, the other 20% of the time, it's going to hit the deck. And then maybe 10% of the time of your throws. So for every 100 throws, there's 10 of them that could be a pick. You take that risk.
I'll take that risk. And then we need a quarterback that's not scared to take risks. We can't have, and that's the thing. If you got a guy that can, I think Trask will be a guy who will take a risk because he'll see, shit, I got Evans and Godwin. Take that risk. And when you take that risk, that will help the team be better anyway. That provides confidence with your offense. That provides confidence with your coaching staff. Because like you said, the coach might say, oh shit, this guy can actually do it. Okay, let's start getting extra plays out here, guys. You like that? Okay, Evans, you like that he throws to you like that? Okay, cool. Godwin, you like that he does this? Another guy that I think we can get for cheap because he doesn't have anywhere to go is Scotty. Scotty's not going to command anything.
I don't think you need to, but I think it's worth. For me, I see Scotty as a late signing to fill the roster.
Right, and I want that because I still believe in his potential. I think he's the type where a new OC can come in and go, okay, this is what we're going to use you for these things. And at this point, he knows the drill. I'd be like, look, man, a lot of times, just be real. You'll be the decoy to where you can stretch the field, where a corner or a safety has to go shit.
Me and you have said this 1,000 times. You don't need him to be a catcher. You could just use him. Like, imagine you had two deep routes on the side,
Yep.
Mike Evans and him side by side. Doesn't matter if the split is condensed or not, have you. The safety is going to split the middle between the two of them, yeah? Because he's thinking, two guys deep. I'm going to split it. Wherever the ball goes, I go. You get one to keep going, and the other one throttles down. That ball's going to be open because you've got to make a decision at one point.
Yep.
And if that's a late look, it goes. We're going for 15 yards, and then you cut back down to 5, so it's 10 yards. So it's still above the sticks, just above the sticks, and you nail that ball in there, looking up because you're looking in the same direction. You can see it. Boom, got you. Because the safety's bailed. Safety's bailed up on the deep because don't get beat deep. That's the golden rule of defense, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to take the 10. First down, baby. Let's go.
And then you can, if you really want to fuck with them, switch them. Okay.
Yes.
Scotty's on the outside. Now Evans is in the middle. Now you really don't know what to do because, and if Evans just runs a straight go, he's going to be doubled because Evans is the guy that you don't want to beat your corner because he will. And then you can have Scotty do a quick out or a little deep out. And if that corner can't keep up with his speed, a quarterback needs to go, boom. You can switch it up. That's what we want to see in our OC to make them go, damn it. We want him to go, okay, just because we want them to think that they know what we're going to do, and then we just switch it up and get them. Like you said, choke them out, make them overzealous, make them go, shit, I know we think we got this, but damn it. And that's why we need an OC with balls and a quarterback with balls. This team, ladies and gentlemen, I know a lot of people are saying that, oh, why would you come here? Why wouldn't you come here? You can make your own mark. Again, if this...
Hey, you got Mike Evans.
You have
Chris Godwin. Russell Gage.
Otten. You have... And then, again, this line... People are going to owe us an apology, Slick. When this fucking line is healthy, Jensen is going to be healthy. And these guys are going to, they don't want to play
Stinney if they re-sign Stinney, who is literally less than $1.5 million. So you can re-sign him. You're going to re-sign him because he's pretty much a starter, right? He's never started before. No one threw money out of him last year. Why would anyone throw money out of him this year?
You got Leverett, 26 years old, depth guy. You can help. You have
maybe he can play the OG position.
Yep.
Better than Stinney or better than Geteke.
Yep.
Like I said to you, you end up with a top 10 center, top 5 right tackle, and your guards are considered, let's say, mediocre to average to good in that ballpark, and your left tackle is just considered okay. You can do a lot. There are teams in this league that are in the playoff. Well, we're in the playoffs. Probably still in the playoffs right now, going to a Super Bowl, have a worse line than we have.
Yeah, and look at the Bengals, the Bills. Those two teams off the break, their lines were worse than the Bucs by far. So again, you come down here with that, man, and then again the draft. If you draft, let's say you draft a left tackle, as you said, best case scenario, he's just good, decent, top 10. Then decent, then top 5, elite, basically. Shit. What quarterback wouldn't want that? Now it's like, wow. And then an OC with the creative mindset. Oh, we got to give the backfield respect. Leonard Fournette. I think Rachaad White is going to have a hell of a next season. Now that he has experience under his belt, can you imagine what he can do? And he's durable. And then Fournette, you're not asking much. And then if they switch up the run scheme, this team, again, if an OC comes down and let's say for the best case, what if this team finishes top 5 in scoring where they scored 30 points a game? And again, like you said, if that fucking defense goes out of the 12.
Hey, give me 25 points. We'd have beaten a lot of teams if we only scored 25 points.
Yeah, but I'm just saying for an OC though.
Absolutely.
You come down and you overwhelmingly see something, and then that defense starts to slip. Bye-bye. That could be an opportunity for OC to come in and say, man, if I really outshine this guy, then I'm gonna be, and I have confidence in the locker room, it's gonna be my team. That's why if I'm an OC, it's a win-win. It's like, hey, look, I'm gonna come down here with ambition either way. I appreciate it, and then that guy can bring in his people. If he becomes a coach, he brings in his squad. Because
Here's,
again,
here's here's the thing. I've been on a team where we had a very dominant defense to a point where we maybe only gave up a score a game,
hmm
a score to two. So we kept them under 15 on a regular basis. We go into a game. I believe they're called the Wyverns. We've beaten them before. It was close, but we beaten them before. It wasn't high scoring. It was the only game that where our defense kind of gave up a few more points. I think that was the only get. I think they got to about 19 points.
hmm
We beat them 26.
mm.
Play against them, and it is they score, we score, they score, we score. We could not stop them, but they couldn't stop us. And I remember the offense talking because you can always hear them talking amongst themselves and what have you. Their coaches talking to them is like, if they want a fucking shootout, we'll give them a fucking shootout. Defense has fucking bailed us out and many a times. Now we go bail them the fuck out. And what I mean by that is there's gonna be times that this defense will have a game where we're in a shootout.
Yep.
When you don't have the ability to score points or high end points, that is when you are in a bind because
Yep.
you can't score to save your lives.
I agree. And that's why with an OC, I'm telling you, Bucks stop if this new OC comes in and brings in the right quarterback and this Buccaneers offense fucks around and becomes top five. Like, can you imagine if they put up the Arian numbers? Okay, yeah, that's a great example. What if they put it in Arian's second season numbers when we were number two, when we were scoring? Can Bowles is in that if that defense even gets to number 13 overall, Bowles is gone because now you got now it's like
Now you can talk about climbing into the playoffs and making a lot of noise.
Say that again. You can climb into the playoffs and make a lot of noise.
Pushka.
Again, the
I won't
NFC.
say Super Bowl contender because I don't believe it's a Super Bowl contender
No.
until I see it. But
yep.
you don't want look. I see this team's biggest goal right now is to get into the playoffs again.
Yep.
That's probably the biggest goal.
Yep.
The secondary goal is can they still win the division, and that is very possible with the division that they are set in front of right this second. It is a very winnable division. There's nothing about it yet. No one signed anybody. It could change. Maybe the Saints throw some money at somebody. I don't know. But what I wanted to touch base on with you, because I don't think this changes too much, is the quarterback carousel. And we were talking about who could come back. So I'm going to go through some of the free agents at quarterback. And let's talk about it from our point of view and then our rivals' point of view. So, Lamar Jackson, do you see us or our rivals getting a taste of him?
None of them. We can't. Nobody.
I think teams could afford. I think Atlanta could afford him.
They're not going to do it though.
I don't think they will. No, exactly.
It's not enough upside. Not enough upside. Can't do it.
Okay, so Daniel Jones, I think he resigns with the Giants.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. But and the coach, he's not going anywhere.
Geno Smith.
Not they'll resign him. I think
they'll resign him because their pick is too high for them to really get a quarterback. I think, and even if they do, they can resign him and not break the bank resigning him. So if they get a carbon copy of what he did last year, at least they can draft somebody and then see if he's not the way forward, then they go with the draftee that they bring in.
Exactly.
Jimmy G. This is probably the toughest one because I don't think he will command a shit ton of money, and pretty much anybody could get him.
I don't want him just because I wouldn't want him because if you couldn't, I understand the style of offense is different in San Fran, but he would be the one that would fuck around and mess and break Evans' record, like would mess his streak up. I don't trust him enough. I don't trust him. I just can't trust him. I don't trust Jimmy. I don't trust him.
Okay, that's fine. Everyone has their opinion, but I believe he's one of those things that any one of our rivals could take as well.
Oh, if he goes to the Saints, I'm laughing because you know why? A guy like Jimmy G, he's another one. What did he basically was good because he was on a fucking good team. You had Debo, you had Kittles, you had a solid defense. That's not going to happen in New Orleans. And then
he'll get Alvin Kamara and whoever they re-sign, but they're in cap hell themselves.
They're in cap hell.
That is the biggest thing. But I think he could do. I think he can make noise in Carolina, and I think he can make a bit of noise in. I think he's one to watch where he goes. He's one that I wouldn't want to see go into the South because he can still elevate a team to it. No, not sorry, not elevate a team. He can still do things.
Yeah, I get that. I would just put more money that he'll screw up first before he, you know.
He's a very, very super safe quarterback.
Yes,
Jacoby Brissett.
no. If he goes anywhere, maybe I wouldn't want him, but I could see if he went to Atlanta, they'd be stable. He'd keep them afloat because if he has Pitts, he's that guy that'll keep him steady. They could be sleepers, but I don't see him. And besides, if he goes to New Orleans, that wouldn't make a difference because Carolina maybe Carolina and Atlanta would be his best bet. He doesn't want to go to the Saints because they don't have any upside weapons. Like you said, Kamara is one thing, but at the same time, you don't want to get him killed either because that's what was happening when Breeze was on his decline. You don't want your primary back beat up.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with the Saints. It's more about what they do in free agency and how they sort their cap out. They sort their cap out like they've done in the past, and they put together a squad. They just couldn't find the quarterback, in my opinion. I looked at the name from a name point of view: Jarvis Landry, Michael Thomas. I was looking, and then Chris Olave as well. Tight end, and then a running back. They had talent around them. They just didn't have the quarterback to deliver it, and that was their problem. If they can bring that back and they bring in like we said, like a Jimmy Garoppolo, I believe they can do a bit more. But it's what they do. Can they afford someone like that? They might have to go real cheap. I think they've got James Winston again anyway. Regardless, I'm not sure if he's not come up on my list yet. Mike White of the Jets. He did some great things with the Jets this year. It's quite easy the Jets might re-sign him because he's going to be cheap.
Yeah, that's the only thing. They'll re-sign him. He's cheap, and
they'll re-sign him unless somebody throws some money at him.
And I don't see that. I don't see it.
Gardner Minshew, he can go anywhere.
He can go anywhere.
I think he'll go anywhere.
He can go anywhere, and I do like that he has a risk-taking mindset. I just think that to me, he gives me Ryan Fitzpatrick vibes where he'll shine like 4 or 5 games, but then he'll stink it up 4 or 5 games. He's not he's not too consistent.
His biggest problem is holding on to the football. I don't believe his interception ratio is that bad. So he's a different type of Fitzmagic. And maybe you can work. And maybe you can work around that. For him, I would say the biggest thing that they would have to work with him is how long he stays in the pocket and how quickly he decides to run and how quickly he decides to his ball security and how quickly he throws it. He needs to have a quicker, he needs to be a bit more choppy in what he does.
And his deep shots are not because we need somebody that can launch that shit to Evans. We want that. We want somebody that can stretch the field. I see him as a mid-range kind of midfield kind of guy where he can, and then like you say, he improvises out of the pocket. But if he went to the Saints, he'll get killed. I mean, he can go there, but I don't think he's gonna make that much noise. Atlanta, I think he could. I think he could do something in Atlanta. Maybe he would develop a relationship. Whatever quarterback gets to Atlanta, if they have a relationship with Pitts, there'll be something because Pitts can give you mid or deep. So
Yeah, I think so. Teddy Bridgewater.
Nope.
Injury.
Yeah, he's too injury prone. Nope.
Taylor Heineke.
Nope.
Cooper Rush.
Nope.
Sam Darnold.
Hell no.
Baker Mayfield. Really? All right. These are being done. This Walter. I'm looking at Walter Football's rankings. I would have probably put Baker Mayfield a little bit higher than some of these guys.
Now Baker, I wouldn't want him to go anywhere else but Tampa, just because now if he went to the
Saints, he's risking no biscuit as well when he
wants. And I don't want that. And Olave on the Saints, he's got some speed on him. He's actually pretty good at that when it comes to deep shots. But overall, the Saints again at their coach doesn't really. He's more of a defensive guy, so they don't even want him. They don't. Carolina made who?
Jared Stidham,
Nope.
Andy Dalton.
Head no.
Okay, last few. Case Keenum.
No. He dried up in 2018.
Yeah, exactly. Nick Mullins and Joshua Dobbs. So let's face it, if we look at these guys that we've been talking about, if I was the Buccaneers and I'm targeting, I'm probably looking at Baker,
Baker.
and I do think he'd take a deal like that, depending on what else is on the table.
Yeah.
Like if someone else is offering him 5 million, yeah, it makes sense for him to take the 5 million. But I trust myself to go with that gambler inside him because he does seem a gutsy type of dude and be like, we're building an offense here. We're still sticking with that kind of no brisket, no brisket, no biscuit,
No biscuit. No
biscuit mentality. Hey, I'd rather a brisket than a biscuit anyway. So.
but with his tangibles and his ability and coming here, this might be a place where he resurrects himself. Because again, what if Baker gets this team to I expect maybe next season the Bucs. I'm hoping they can get at least 8 to 10. But imagine if he gets the Bucs 12 wins and they make a deep run in the playoffs. I don't see them winning the Super Bowl, but let's say he gets them to they get past one wild card and they lose in the divisional round. Now you have now you can see where you build off on that, and he has weapons. We don't know. Again, Baker.
And the beauty of having one of these quarterbacks is,
yep,
the second year they can't really command too much money either. So you might be able to lock them in for 4 years on a pretty nice deal,
30 million or something, and he'll take it. And again, he has two receivers that have their heads on. See, a lot of people don't realize when he was in Cleveland, you could say all you want about
he had a diva.
Yeah, they had divas, and then Landry was too inconsistent. His
Landry was the best receiver they had, though, realistically, from a stats point of view, right?
Yeah,
but he got injured a fair bit.
Right, but that's it. I tell people, Evans, we know Evans and Godwin are consistent. So imagine Baker with the OC that believes in him, and he has receivers where he goes, I'm going to get them the ball, and they're going to do it. And again, he has a backfield with, Rashad White and Fournette. And if the line can just be average, the Bucs offense will get at least, like as you said, 25 points. I'm willing to put money on that. If they were to get Baker and the line is just average with their receiving core, that's 25 points a game off the break. And with the defense being the way it is, if the defense stays who they are, Bucs, that's an 11-12 win season. Now, again, we just want them we want them to get to the playoffs and just be competitive. I don't expect them to go to the Super Bowl next season. I really don't. I just want them, if the Bucs can get to 8 to 10 wins, I'm all for it. I'm happy.
Make noise in the playoffs. So win a playoff game.
Make some noise. And I'm just saying, if Trash does that, I'm even happier. If Trash can get 9 wins, I will go. We stick with him. If he can get 10 or 11, you definitely stick with him. Worst case scenario.
I guess it also looks down to like not just the wins, because it's look at how you won.
Right. If he
did you win in spite of him, or did you win because of him?
Right.
And then when you lost, did you lose because of him, or did other factors at play because you lost?
Right. So
even if they have a losing season, and I'm looking at we only won 6 games, but it wasn't because of him. It was because, for the sake of argument, defense let us down. For the sake of argument, or the running game was really poor, but his play was solid, or he was sacked 30 times or 25 times. Right. Then you can go, okay, well, there's things to fix. Don't necessarily get away from him. It depends on where you pick next year. If you got an early pick, and we know that they always want to go down the quarterback route if they can get it, because it's just a done thing in the NFL. If you got a top 10 pick, you're picking a fucking quarterback because
you want to build.
You have to. It's kind of like it's expected by the fan base. It's expected by the NFL. It's just what's expected.
Right. And you're right. Let's say the Bucs win 7 to 8 games next season, but Trash throws for 32 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. Now you go, wow, he has potential, because now and then he throws for 4,500 yards.
Yeah.
You don't give that away. Now, like you said, okay, Let's see what we can do now. That was his first full season. What if he learns from that? What if the season after that he fucks around and throws for 37 touchdowns, but only throws 10 interceptions, and we win 12 games? Now you have a future. Again, if he plays solid, and I tell you this right now, if they go with Trask and he wins over 9 games, that's your franchise quarterback, and he does, and his numbers are solid.
Yeah, until he proves you otherwise.
Exactly. Uh, I'm telling you, but with the way the Bucs are aligned right now, you can't go wrong with this team. This team is still a competitive. They can be a competitive, dangerous team with the right OC and the right quarterback. It doesn't have to be the best, because we have enough pieces around him where he doesn't have to be the best. That's my thing, and I stand on that, and that's where I'm going for it. I'm 60%. I'm like 55% going for Trask, but if we can get somebody else to, for him to
Like I said,
battle, I'm for
it's
it.
not I'm against Trask. I just want to put pressure on him to perform or get the job. So I like my idea of bringing in 2 quarterbacks. How if they don't want to 3 quarterbacks? How I'll go to 2 and offer them both 5 million plus the bonuses.
I
That's
agree.
been a fucking bad gig, but I'm pretty sure you can. I'm 100% sure that you can get guys who haven't started this year. There's nothing in their interview or their agent can turn around and go, "Oh, he's worth more than that." And I'm like, I'd turn around and go, "Prove it." He didn't
Right.
play last year. Oh, but he
Right.
played for the Eagles. Okay,
It-
well, he played
yep.
for the Eagles. Well done. What did he fucking do? He ain't playing for nobody right now.
No, and you got a point. This year, again, I tell people, to hell with what the quarterback is for this next season coming up. This is building, so whatever quarterback we do get, just in case he doesn't pan out, he has something to come with. I would rather us do that. Guys, Bucks fans, we have to start thinking about the future now. No more trying to get the right veteran to. We're not going to get no Brady picks like that ever again.
There isn't nobody.
Right,
Like
right,
the only real viable option if you're going down that route is Carr, and Carr's contract is a ridiculous amount for how he plays. In my
mm-hmm.
opinion, I like him. I've always been a fan of Derek Carr, but I think his contract's inflated to how he plays, and he's just been lucky enough to be in a when he got signed, he was in a quarterback market. It's a very easy market to win at if you are one of the best in it.
Right,
So
and that's what I'm saying. But Bucks fans, we got to get out of that mindset, because we've been that way for a long time. Let's see what we have drafted. Let's see what we can develop, because we have to look at the future. Look at what happened after the first Super Bowl when the Bucks won. The empire fell, and thank God that we had the defense enough to help us recuperate. But after that, it was downhill. Like I tell people, in reality, after the 2005 season, the Bucks were finished. That when we were the number one defense still, but after that, eh. And then, of course, the end of it is when Monty Kiffin left us. When he said he was going to leave us in the middle of the season, that Carolina game where we got dog ran over. When Rondé Barber got stiff armed by old boy, that he stiff armed my life. He stiff armed my every breath I had. I was like, I knew it was over. So, guys, we want to have a roster worthwhile. And speaking of, talking about Brady, I had to. I'm gonna this this does still coincide with quarterbacks, but I had to get in this argument, and I made this rant on TikTok. Did you see this shit where these guys are ranking Mahomes in the top 5 quarterbacks of all time already, Slick?
I haven't seen it. I will have to have a look at it, and I think I might have to have a comment on it. I
It,
don't think you can do that yet. I mean, don't get me wrong. What he's achieved, like the the playoff runs and what have you he's had, but I put it down to a different thing on this. Look at what was around him. He had one of the best. Some people would argue one of the best wide receivers in the league, and he's obviously had what people call the best tight end slot receiver in the league too.
yes,
I do think he's one of the best in the NFL right now. I really do.
yes,
But to say all time is very difficult. Like, yes, his accolades stack against, say, someone like if you take away the passing stats, because obviously he's not going to go after some people for quite a while. He's already beaten people like Matt Ryan, in my opinion. He's already beat. But greatest of all, to be in that conversation of all time, you've got to be a multi Super Bowl winning quarterback. That's the only way forward. Even if he wins this one, I don't think it puts him a step closer. But he's still so young in his career. His career could get cut short in this next game. He might get injured and he breaks his fucking fibula, and he may never walk. He may walk with a pronounced limp for the rest of his life. You don't know what's going to happen. So I don't want to predict that somebody's going to be great before they hit that mark. Yeah. And he hasn't hit it yet.
What if he regresses? We've seen quarterbacks that had promising starts, and then all of a sudden you're like, and I know that he's nowhere near this, but this is just a good example. Do you remember?
He hasn't had a different OC, and he hasn't had a different head coach.
Right, and it kind of reminds me of who was that guy that had promise? Okay, well, not even that. I'll just skip that. But I'm just going to give you these quarterbacks. We got Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Dan Marino, Peyton Manning, John Elway. All those quarterbacks that I just mentioned not only redefine their position, and this is no shade to Mahomes because he can't help this, but those guys also played in an era where the quarterback was fair game, and the level of competition, like the competition is the same, but also the defenses had easy. They could play a lot more physical, and you know this, Slick. At this time, back in 1994, it was a little harder. If a quarterback could throw for 300 yards, you were an elite guy back then. They were like, damn, because guys could get hit. Guys it would get in your face.
The old bang eight and fucking boom, the safety's got him before he's even touches the ball.
And I want to know and that's why I love the game like that, because as you say, it's mental. Psychologically, how do you recover from getting your shit knocked in? And mind you, there's no flag, and the guy steps over you and say, "That's right, bitch," and walks off. I don't know if Mahomes could do that. And the improviser shit, if he did that back in the early 2090s, it will get him killed.
I think that's why you got to do it by eras sometimes. I think you've got to look at the eras, and Tom Brady squeaks into two eras. Same with probably Peyton Manning. He squeaks into two eras too. The other guys are all like reminiscent of a different era. So I think Mahomes will be in that conversation because I think he'll overtake someone like John Elway. I think that's going to happen in the next few years. I really do. Just because of what he's achieved so far.
Yes.
In such a short space of time. But I always remind people, remember, oh yeah, he's been to the AFC Championship game X amount of times. He's only won it twice. And he's only won one Super Bowl.
Woo! Say that again. He's only won it twice.
One Super Bowl. How many times he's been to the AFC Championship game? He lost to the Patriots. Went to the AFC Championship game and went to the Super Bowl. Won the Super Bowl. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I can't remember. My memories.
And last year he lost to the Bengals in the AFC.
Lost to us. Won the AFC. Lost to us. Got to the AFC. Lost to the Bengals. Got to the AFC and beat the Bengals. So he's been 5 times, and yes, 5 times is great. He's only converted it twice. This is his third. 3 times. This is his third time. When it comes to the next game, which is the big deal, if he loses this one, he has a losing Super Bowl record.
Agreed.
There aren't many quarterbacks for those.
And let's look at it like this. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. Like, Burrow ain't that far behind him. As a matter of fact, Joe Burrow, if Mahomes isn't careful, Burrow can surpass him, because Burrow knows how to make plays too when it happens. And as you said before, he didn't have Tyreek Hill and Kelsey, and his line back in the day was a hell of a lot better than Burrow has ever had when he got in the league. That's why Burrow was fucked up when he first became a rookie, because his line was trash. Like, we know it's trash now, but when he first got in the league, his line
got a rookie as well. You got to take that into account.
So I think I know Chris Cole says different eras. This is true, but sometimes other eras were a lot more harder. Can you imagine Joe Montana in this era with Jerry Rice with that team? Can you imagine if Dan Marino? Look at what Dan Marino is the only reason that the 85 Bears didn't go undefeated. Let that sink in, people. Since people love praising the 85 Bears defense, look what Dan Marino did. Dan Marino was a quarterback ahead of his time too. So can you imagine if Dan Marino had 4 seconds and he didn't have to worry about getting hit? Peyton Manning was another one ahead of his time. I think Peyton Manning is the greatest regular season quarterback of all time. But that's my whole point. They have to keep those things in mind. And with the way the passing league is set up, it's damn near inflated because
Extra
again,
game as well now.
right. And the quarterback doesn't have to worry about getting blasted. And I think that takes away the toughness psychological of the game because as much as this person is a piece of shit as a person, Brett Favre was the epitome of, yes, I'm going to get knocked down, but I'll get right back up and do it again. When he used to play the Bucs, Sapp would put him on his ass, but he would get right back up. He'll throw an interception or eat a sack, but then the next play, throw a 50-yard bomb and the touchdown's there. And he was mentally tough and he could do that. I don't know if Mahomes
would get those licks that he could continue.
Yes. I don't think, and not just physically, but mentally, I don't think he's there. Like, I don't think Kelsey was surviving in that era because, as you said, playing that slot like that, a linebacker would blast him or a safety would blast him. He's not going to take those type of hits. And remember, it was easier back in the 90s, early 2000s to also jam without them calling things. It seems like now they call it for certain people and everybody else can get away with it. But you remember in the 2000s, the Ravens, the Rondays of the world, if you got jammed up, you were locked in. I just think with the Mahomes situation of the world, these quarterbacks nowadays in this era, yes, you're going to have these numbers because you don't have to worry. I challenge people. I tell them, Burrow and all these guys, all these quarterbacks of today, put them in the 90s. And that's why I say, like you said, Brady and Peyton played in both and they dominated in both. Let's be real. Brady and Manning dominated in both. That's why you could say that about them. Now, if you want to, Elway I feel like Elway was a quarterback that it took talent to take him to that level because he wasn't shit until Shannon Sharp and Terrell Davis and Shanahan and Rod Smith. You know, people forget he was 0-2 before they got there. The Eagles spanked him. I mean, not the Redskins spanked him and the 49ers spanked him. So I can see what you mean about Elway. Mahomes can surpass him. I agree.
Mahomes, most of it takes time. Most of it takes time. Time's on his side. The longer he plays, the more he's going to have that conversation. Right. And I think what you're annoyed about is that they're already calling it now. And yeah, I can see in the future he's going to be in front of him. And I wouldn't be surprised if he got in front of Dan Marino when it comes to stats and what they've done in their careers. I can see it happening, but it hasn't happened yet. So I'm not calling him a GOAT or one of the greatest of all time.
Right.
Because he hasn't done it yet. And until I see it, the guy could be driving down Hollywood Boulevard and someone shoots him. That's his career done.
Right.
I don't wish that on him or anything like that, but something can happen.
I know what you're saying. Something could happen.
Something can change. Probably won't, but something can change. He could have a change of heart. He might get one of the biggest hits of his life, which might get flagged or whatever. Doesn't matter. Nationally televised game. He gets the shit knocked out and we've got a Tua situation.
Or he could be another Troy Aikman where a LeVar Arrington knocks him out knocks him out that one time where he just goes, fuck it. My health is more
wife and kids now. Yeah, he's got wife and 2 kids. So exactly. Maybe on the way, or at least one. I know he's got definitely one. He's married and what have you. So there are other things. He's making a mint at doing what he's doing as well. So he ain't worried. Now he's probably I think he's got to the point in his mindset that he's like, shit, I'm in that conversation where if I keep chasing, I could be a greatest of all time. I could be in that kind of conversation, one of the best. He's technically still chasing people like Aaron Rodgers too.
Yes, he is. He is, and I also again
one of the greatest regular season quarterbacks of all time as well.
Right, again, and
Drew Brees, great regular season quarterback. Are you going to really turn around and say, I would we take away the Super Bowl, we talk about accolades in the regular season because that's the easiest thing to do. There's too many people who have achieved things. Machine Gun Kelly, the K-Gun, Jim Kelly, yeah. I said
Yeah.
Machine Gun Kelly. I know it's a completely different
No, I know
motherfucker.
what you mean.
The-
Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly.
Jim,
Yes.
Jim Kelly, you know, another great quarterback. Maybe never got the job done, but on when you talk about how great somebody is, he's still in that conversation of being great. There's too many people he needs to surpass. I think let's look at Patrick Mahomes when he hits that 10th year, because that's when you say you are a NFL. In my opinion, you are a true NFL veteran of the game. 10 years, you've done a decade. I mean, at that point in your life, it's almost a third of your life has been in the
Exactly.
NFL.
Yeah, I
That's where
agree.
you have measurables. You can go, okay, in this 10 years, he went, first year was AFC Championship. Second year was Super Bowl. Second year lost third year lost the Super Bowl. Third year, this happened, and bing, bing, bing. You get there and you turn around. Okay, in that 10-year stretch, he got 3 Super Bowls, and he's been to the AFC Champion. He lost 2 Super Bowls for the sake of argument. So
Mhm.
1-2, 1-3. He spent half of his career inside the Super Bowl. That is great. He is one of the greatest of all time. One of the greatest of all time. And then you look at the stats. Do they measure up with these guys from 10 years? And I would probably look at more like the more modern quarterbacks, like the Aaron Rodgers, the Drew Brees, where their stats stack up, because they're your regular season stats you want to kind of compare against him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he just still, again, he still has other quarterbacks that are willing that can possibly duke it out with him, and mechanically are just as good. Like, I think mechanically Burrow is on the same tier. Herbert is still behind, but you never know with the right coaching or quarterback or whatever.
And you've got Josh Allen as well. So
Josh
you've
Allen,
got really
Lamar Jackson. Again, imagine if Lamar, if we could, I know this will never happen, but we already explained that. But imagine if Lamar came to the Bucs and he gets a solid line, and he doesn't have to play hero ball all the time. With
no, because
Evans,
you've got wide receivers.
he's got wide receivers. Good God Almighty! And then a backfield. Can you imagine the numbers he would put up? First of all, you'd be damned if you do. If he gets out and improvises, he can launch that shit to Evans. I put it this way: if he would have come here, Evans would probably get 1,800 yards, 25 touchdowns, maybe, or something of a ridiculous amount. And he could win with if the defense could be like they are for 3 years, he could get at least a Super Bowl, maybe 2. It's too many factors where Mahomes, I think you know what happened when Justin Herbert and Burrow and them got drafted. It changed the entire way that we thought, that people thought, because Mahomes was the sole person behind, like the sole person to take the throne. But then these guys came in. Now you really can't say that. You got to go, shit. What if these guys get the same squad or opportunity? Like you said, Mahomes didn't have to come in and just start and be thrown in the lion's den. He learned behind Alex Smith. He had Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, and then he was gifted with Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. People also forget Kareem Hunt and them were there. When Kareem Hunt and them were back there, they had a hell of a backfield. You're right. We have to give him another 5 years and see where he is. That's perfect, Slick. I want to see how he is in 10 years. For all we know, this
5 years is not a base of comparison. So you could say he's been one of the greatest within 5 years. That's an argument. That's a fair assessment argument.
I
But
agree.
you're saying he's one of the greatest quarterbacks to play the game. You've got to give the respect to those guys who every single guy that we're talking about in that conversation played more than 10
right.
years.
And the words, look, let's say this, guys, all you announcers out there, hold your load. Hold your load and stop gushing and busting over this, man.
I want to ground these people before. So this is the GOAT conversation is one of my least favorite, because it feels like everyone wants to christen the next GOAT, because it's almost like if you get it right, you can be that person saying, well, I called him the GOAT in 2022.
Facts.
Yeah, and it's got nothing. But if you get it wrong, no one's going to care, because everyone's forgotten about what you said. But you can dig up that tweet. You can dig up what you remember, because you might have conviction in what you say. Screenshot that. I'll keep that for a rainy day.
Exactly.
Nah, never come to delete. Done. No one's ever going to think about it.
Right. But as of right now, folks, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr., in the words of Skip Bayless, that is the GOAT. Because not only that he won 6 Super Bowls with the Patriots, he came down to Tampa and he got 7. And he did it despite his His ex-girl, and that was his ex-man. That was Belichick. I told you, everybody knows Belichick. Tom Brady was the bad chick that
Tom Brady, he's the system quarterback. He will be nothing without him. And then he just goes, you know what? I'm an old guy.
I'm gonna
Give
do
me a
it.
good line. Give me a fucking good line. Give me some talent. I'll get the fucking job done. And what did he do? He got the job done. And someone can turn around and say it was an all fucking star team. It was an all Madden team. It may as well have been. But that's not the point. That's
That's
the
not the
team
fucking
got
point. He did
assembled. Are you only going to sit there going, oh, you only got your team, but you only got your Super Bowl because your team was really, really good? Or isn't that kind of the point of the fucking game?
Right, that makes no sense. Because but that's funny you say that, because when people do that, and I go to the John Elway reference, then they're like, but they turn into Porky. I'm like, no, wait a minute.
That's
Oh,
all,
wait a
folks.
minute. You're talking about he had an all-star cast. So did Elway. Remember, Elway got hit. Not only did he lose, Slick, he would get his ass whooped in these Super Bowls. If they acting like that, Elway was
What
playing them.
about Peyton Manning in his last 2 years with Denver? That was
Oh, we know that.
that was a supreme
We
offense.
know that the 2015 Broncos defense carried. They literally said this. They was like,
His
"Here
corpse
you
was just
go."
shook on the Super Bowl.
They
He's
said, they said, Peyton, he won that Super Bowl by name. He didn't do a damn thing.
like, he just
We
didn't
know
turn the ball over.
he didn't turn the ball over. Right. There's a lot of quarterbacks that win. When you have an all-star cast, like you said, that's the point. That's good coaching. Like, it's very rare that there's only a handful of quarterbacks that won simply by themselves, and I can't even think of any. I mean, like, the worst quarterback to win is Trent Dilfer, but he also had one of the greatest defenses known to man, and he also had Shannon Sharp, arguably the greatest tight end, to help him anyway.
Yeah, and he's like Shannon Sharp's in that conversation of one of the greatest Titans to ever play the game.
It's him. Look, I'm gonna just say this: 1A, 1B, Shannon and Gronk. You're not getting it. Shannon and Gronk. You're not getting anything else. Those are the two goats. Those are the two goats. Because Shannon redefined the tight ends position, but so did Gronk. You can't go wrong with either. It's like a Ferrari or a Lambo. You're gonna be happy with either or. So yes.
You don't have Gonzalez in that conversation.
Hell no. I'm sorry. I would say Gonzalez is the Aaron Rodgers of tight ends. Really good in the regular season, but when it came to show up in the playoffs, they were never found. That's why Gonzalez, to me, a lot of people think, I tell people, when he was with the Chiefs, that was the Gonzalez that I thought he was going to go places, because he had a squad there too. People like Atlanta, he also had a squad with Priest Holmes, Larry Johnson, Samuel Bowen, all them. He didn't do shit with them. Playoffs came around, he turned into Aaron Rodgers. Aaron and Tony Gonzalez are the Cinderella of the playoffs. That 12 o'clock hit, they turn it back fucking pumpkin patches and shit. that's it. I like Tony, but he ain't on that level. When it comes to elevating, we can go back and forth. Like, I've told people this. You know who's low key who is better than Brady mechanically, but he doesn't get the respect because he was a soft-spoken man? Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner was a bad motherfucker. Kurt Warner also, people forget, he's the guy that took Arizona to the Super Bowl. For Arizona people, that guy literally, the Arizona defense lost that Super Bowl, but Kurt Warner had the mechanics. Look at what he did with the greatest show on turf. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if Kurt Warner had Belichick as a coach and he had Randy Moss, Stallworth, and all those guys, and they had a defense? Kurt Warner could have put up those numbers. So I agree.
He's in the Hall of Fame. So, and again, when we talk about quarterbacks who have achieved things, and we keep adding names, when you look down at a quarterback list of all the greats that have played this game, you have to include him as well, because won a Super Bowl, been to a second Super Bowl, did it with two teams. He had a short career because he didn't get into the league until late.
Yep.
But when he was in the league, he was one of the most dominant quarterbacks they'd ever seen. And you don't get called the greatest show on turf because you're shit. You got called because you did something special.
Right. And people were trying to give him shit about that. Well, you had Falk and Holt and you had Orlando Pace. Look what he did.
They weren't great before that, though. When he got there before, they were dog shit. What was their season before they went to the Super Bowl and won it all?
They were
They barely won like 5 games, I think.
yeah, and Marshall Faulk was the star of that team. We get that. I'm not taking that away from him, but that's another guy that
But he learned how to use him as the Swiss Army knife that he became.
oh, absolutely. And then when Pace came there, look at Orlando Pace. We know who everybody knows Orlando Pace is revered as one of the best tackles of the game. We know these things now. But as you said, back then he got them over the hump. And look at what he did in Arizona. I think that was better just because he didn't have a Marshall Faulk in the backfield. Now he had Larry Fitzgerald and Anquan Bolden, but he didn't have the line that he had in St. Louis. Man, this is why for the new people today, the quarterbacks that are still playing, we can't judge them until years down the line because we don't know what their legacy is going to
Minimum
be.
of 10 is where you can go, okay, where do you stack in 10? 10 years is a career, yeah? You walk away and say, if you turn around at anybody, doesn't matter if you are all superstar, pro bowler, whatever, you're in a bar, right? You got your drink. What do you normally drink, AJ? What's your poison?
Henny and Coke.
Henny and Coke. You're there with your Henny and Coke. You chat to a guy, kind of recognize him. I'm a 10-year vet in the NFL. Instantly, you're like, this guy's a fucking daddy. Being in the league for 10 years is a big deal.
It really
When
is.
you've been in the league and you've been fucking slinging it, or you've been balling in the league, and everyone and you see another guy today. Oh, here's my buddy. He's just gone to the bathroom. Comes in and you see a fucking fuck me, it's his quarterback, such and such and such and such, 10-year vet, fucking Mac Daddy is what I know who this motherfucker. This motherfucker belongs in the Hall of Fame. You know it straight away because it's 10 years is a long time to be grateful.
Facts. When you're 10 years, hell yeah, if you're 10 years great, yeah, you're that you are
You're a
that.
Hall of Famer 9 times out of 10. If you're great for 10 years, you're a Hall of Famer. That's why when people turn around and say, I love Mike Evans. Everyone says, is Mike Evans a Hall of Famer? Not yet. He will be. I honestly think he will be. It's that 10-year mark. I want to see the 10 years. Give me 10 years. And if I see 10 years of the the touchdowns,
1,000-yard
we get into
season.
that conversation where he's hitting close to 100 touchdowns and he's got way over 10,000 receiving yards. We're having that conversation because it
You're
has to
damn
be
right.
had.
And Matt, look, you're damn straight. He's gonna get another 1,000 yards. After that, I'm gonna tell people, look, 10 straight years of 1,000 yards, Hall of Fame shit. You have to consider it. And then again, he'll get. And imagine if he gets 15. I think he's almost close to 100 touchdowns, if not there yet already. I think Evans has at least 89 touchdowns.
I think he's in that conversation. Give me a second. I'll have a little snoop.
Yeah. I like this, guys. Look, goat shit. We're gonna talk about this. We're gonna put some respect on these players because don't let the media always tell you something. That's their job. They do the fluff. We, as the fans, we gonna get to the nitty gritty of it.
I've always said you've got to give the 10-year comparison because that's when you can stack careers versus careers. I do it every time I do. I can't remember what they're called. There's a site and you can you look at a player and you go into the search bar underneath and you can compare them and then you can compare them by year. So you can click. It's say for the sake of argument, you're comparing Levante David to let's go with one of the greats, Mike Singletary. Yeah, you compare him. But one's played more years. It's hard to do, you're hard to kind of sit there. You don't want to sit there and do the math. So what this thing does is you click 10 years, 10 years. It's like, boom, this is what they compiled in 10 years. And you put it versus, and it works beautifully. Mm-hmm. Mike Evans is at... here we go. He's over the 10,000 yard mark, and he has 81 touchdowns.
That is impressive. 81 touchdowns. And remember, he did this with 5 different quarterbacks. Man.
So next year is year 10. Next year is year 10.
81 touchdowns, guys. And I think he leads that within his draft class.
I believe. Hang on. I think Devontae is in front on him on that.
Well, I can damn sure guarantee.
Only because he got so many touchdowns. He was in front.
And you know why? He had one quarterback to throw to him besides this season.
Yep.
Look, I would say Devontae has like 83 maybe. Damn, that was a hell of a draft class too. Yeah, Eric, we'll let you come on another time, my man. We about to wrap
Yeah,
this up.
we're gonna wrap this up in a minute.
But
We'll,
yes,
we'll-
yeah, Chris, we did have a better team in 2021. We did. We did. That was the year we were supposed to go back to back. That shit hurts. That shit still hurts.
it does.
I haven't forgiven Bowles yet for that. Cooper Cup, guys. It ain't even his fault. That's Bowles. You double Cooper Cup, damn it. There's no reason. There's no reason to do that blitz and shit. You double him and you make Stafford beat you. We
Yep.
get that turnover. The Bucs win the Super Bowl back to back, doing a hallelujah dance. That whole be different, man. That is the mystery. What would have happened? Damn. But it's all right though. We're gonna be on the right track, Bucks fans. Do not worry. And me and Slick are on top of it.
Oh,
We're gonna
for
hold them
sure.
accountable. We're gonna hold them accountable while he's doing that, and while he's finding his research for you folks out there. I have merchandise. This is Sticks of Fire. It's Native American for Tampa. That's what Tampa means in Native American Sticks of Fire. You need to get some, and I got motivational stuff. I have good designs. ajturnup.myspread.com. I'm going to say that again. ajturnup.myspreadshop.com. Got all some good merch in there, and I come out with new stuff every other day. Check it out, guys. And then also, everything is AJ Turnup. You can find me there. I'm gonna go over my drafts as well, but definitely get that good merch. So I have hoodies, so for winter, and I got good summer stuff. And then I got something else. Again, I got a lot of merchandise for you Floridian folks, and then for my Tampa people, my Tampans, Tampania, Tampinos, 813 Hillsborough County. Love you guys. So yes, check that out. Slick, you got Devontae.
I got it for you. So number one in the NFL with touchdowns is Devontae Adams with 87. And I think that's because of this year, because he got a lot of touchdowns this year.
Yeah,
They were almost neck and neck. Then it goes to Mike Evans at 81. So Mike Evans is the second. He's currently the third most in the NFL for yards. Then it goes to DeAndre Hopkins. D Hop has got himself. Where's my touchdowns? 69. So he's got a lot of these guys got a long way to go. This is
exactly.
going from 2015, 2014, which is when Mike was drafted. So that's where I went from. He's got, and this again, there are guys in this conversation that are been playing longer and would have more touchdowns. So Travis Kelce only has 69 since 2014. Antonio Brown is only 68 since 2014. Obviously, he had dead years. So Tyreek Hill has only got 63 since that time. Stephon Diggs, Odell Beckham Jr., and the list goes on. But let's go with the receiving yards. Just want to have a quick look at this. Is receiving yards since 2014. See if it'll stack these up for me. Julio Jones has the most with 10,892. D Hop is then second with 10,496. And then it is Mike Evans with 10,425. So he's second or third in two categories right now.
And those
And
two guys you
Julio
mentioned,
Jones is retiring.
he's a Hall of
More than
Famer.
likely. Even if he doesn't, he's going to get himself maybe 300 yards, 400 yards, a couple of touchdowns. He's miles away on the touchdowns. He only got 43 touchdowns in his career, which isn't that impressive, really, if you think about it. With Mike Evans, is pretty much almost doubled what he's got. And yeah, you look at it from this perspective. If Mike Evans has a 1,400 yard season, he could quite easily be the number two guy. It depends on what DeAndre Hopkins gets next year. It's a freeway. It's a two-way race on yards, and it's a two-way race realistically on touchdowns between either him and DeAndre Hopkins or him and Devontae Adams.
Exactly.
But to be in that conversation of being the number two guy in both categories is pretty darn.
That's fucking awesome. In the words of Brady, that's awesome. That was fucking awesome. And so, guys, and with that, me and Slick, we did a hell of a job, guys. This was a condensed, nice talk. We went from the draft to the GOAT. So again, guys, please stay entertained. Bucks Aftermath, Bucks Report Aftermath is where it's at. We get it, that we break that shit down. We talk from perspective. We talk from logic. We also talk from passion. Man, it's always a beautiful time. Always good to talk with Slick.
And the beauty of us is we don't think we're right. We just generally have an opinion.
That's right.
Anyone can come on here. It's the aftermath. Sorry, Eric, that you couldn't come on. It was a little bit late. We've gone a little bit longer than we normally do. We only usually hit about an hour to an hour and a half maximum.
Mm-hmm.
We got the 2 hour mark because I've been away, so we thought we'd catch up with some stuff. But you guys can come on here and get your opinions out. We've had guys with wacky stuff come out before. Believe you me, I've heard some wacky stuff, and I will never take a person down if that's what they believe. All you got to do is explain your work, show your work, and I go, okay, yeah, I can see that. AJ's been with me a few times where he's shown me things. I went, you know what? I never thought of it like that, and I've probably done the same thing to him. And that's the beauty of football. Is sometimes we look at things in our own mindset and we're like, that is this way, and then someone else goes, well, no, actually, you can steer the ship this way, and you're like, I never thought of doing that.
Amen.
Never even thought it. Never entertained it.
Mm-hmm. And
sometimes that's what we do.
You have to be told how it works. Slick Slick has told people, because when we have people that ask for certain things, Slick will say, I hear you, but that's not how it's going to work. And then when he breaks it down, that's when you go, oh shit, I didn't know that. Yeah, you have to pay this person even though they're not playing. Yeah, it's called dead cap for a reason.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I still think the Buccaneers will probably try and restructure Donovan Smith rather than cut him. Now, if he doesn't want to play ball, then they cut him. That's what they'll do because they want to save money. He's almost 10 million. They can recover 10 million from the cap if they cut him. Exactly. But if they can turn around to him and say, look, if we pay you a 5 million salary, you'll still get all your money. But on paper, you're only taking 5 mil or whatever it is. Then there's more cap space to sign other people.
Amen. And that's
where you can get your quarterback. That's where you can turn around and go, okay, now we've got 13 million spare that we didn't have. Exactly. Let's go and throw 5 million at Baker Mayfield with the incentives. Let's go and throw 2 million at Blaine Gabbert. Let's throw another 2 million at this with the incentives, because the incentives don't count against the cap. Exactly. If you cut one of them, it doesn't matter because you give them a little bit of a taste of their contract. They get something out of it. And then you still got Trask, and Trask knows that he isn't just going to inherit a team. He has to work for it.
Exactly.
And that's all we want.
Yep. And on that note, I wish y'all to do. Remember, ajturnup.myspreadshot.com. Sticks of fire. Good shirt. Good stuff. And we will see you guys later on this week. Again, Slick, always a pleasure. And guys, always Bucks Report Aftermath. And again, we already know the most important phrase at the end of the day. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks. See you, brother.
See you, my man.
I'll break this one down. Okay, guys. So that is the end of the show. Thank you for joining in. It is pretty late for me. It's about 4:45 in the morning, so I got to go to sleep. I got to take some babies to school and then sleep. So without further ado, guys, much appreciated for everyone coming on, making comments. I always appreciate it. And hopefully we get into this thing and find out how this Buccaneers future shapes out for us. But in the meantime, Bucks on me, Bucks on free. 1, 2, 3, go Bucks!